The story of how I helped the first spirit pass into the light begins in this very room and ended the next day in my bedroom. I was in my living room watching YouTube in the middle of the night. It was around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. My eyes were getting tired. I was drifting off to sleep when all of a sudden something caught my attention across the hall and into the formal living room where I am right now. I thought perhaps it was a car driving by and I saw the flicker of light through the front window. Maybe it's a trick of the light. So I kept watching. And all of a sudden, it happened again. A flicker from the corner of my eye. I looked across the hall. I didn't see anything, but then I started searching my feelings. I was feeling a great compression along my chest, like my heart was heavy. And I also was getting a sense of curiosity and an imposing presence. Somebody throwing their weight around, exhibiting a little bit of dominant behavior. While I wasn't frightened, I didn't get a sense that I should be fearing this presence. I was curious about what was going on, why they were here, and what they were doing in my house. I have a no-ghost policy. After searching my feelings, I looked again across the hall and noticed something was different. The energy seemed to have shifted down the corridor and actually to the foot of the couch in which I was lying down. I looked over, not seeing anything physical. But what I did notice was a shimmering of the air, kind of like when you open your front door and the outside is freezing cold and the hot air escapes. I stared into that and I spoke into it. And I said, "Friend, whoever you are not welcome here. This is my family home. My children are sleeping. My husband is downstairs. We are not ready to accept visitors. Please respect that and go off." The feeling in the room shifted slightly, a little bit of unease, a little bit of uncertainty. But eventually the feeling passed, and I went on to watch my shows, finished my evening, and went off to bed. In the middle of the night, my daughter, who from a very young age had complained about monsters in her closet, had a night terror again, and she hadn't had one for several months. I brought her into my bed, and that is where she slept for a couple of hours until my husband, tired of getting kicked in the head by a preschooler who wiggles around a lot, brought her to her own bed. And this is where part 2 of my story begins. Because you see, about a half hour before my alarm clock is set to go off, I'm suddenly awoken by a man's voice shouting the word "Pam" into my right ear. I look around. I'm startled awake. I look around looking for whoever that might have been that spoke to me with a sense of urgency and as though searching for this person called Pam. I don't know any Pams. And again, I called out, "Are you the spirit who was in the living room last night?" And sometimes spirits can manifest voice, and sometimes they can't. And this particular spirit did not respond in words. And I thought, okay, well, how about you help me realize it? Okay, so I kid you not, I just got up because my door just swung open. That doesn't happen, and I can't make this up. I may have to do a bit of a clearing again tonight, or at least try to see who's here and what they want. Now I need a second to collect my thoughts. Okay, so as I was in my bed and I heard a man's voice calling out "Pam," I was startled and I decided to ask them a few questions. And I asked them, "Are you the spirit who was here last night?" And I didn't hear a response. And sometimes it helps to give spirit options to manifest their answers to you. Sometimes knockings, sometimes you can feel your body move in bed sometimes and it makes the slightest little sound and you can say, okay, for one rustle, say yes, for two rustles, say two. And that's the approach I kind of went with. I was breathing calmly. I knew I wasn't manifesting any movements. And so I just wanted to see, okay, well, if you can rustle my sheets ever so slightly, I'll hear that. Sometimes spirits manifest themselves through the flickering of light. We had that a lot in our house, which was haunted for a couple of years, and not just by humans, but a variety of elemental beings and nature spirits. And I'll tell you that story at another time. Look for the card as soon as it's ready. And so this spirit, yes, said, "I am the spirit that was there. yesterday. And I kept asking a variety of questions, and I can't remember what it was, but I do remember wanting to validate the intentions and the nature of the spirit. And I had them confirm, are you here with good intentions? And they rapped yes. Are you a nefarious, negative spirit? The rap was no. Well, then you can't always trust nefarious spirits. So I asked them to declare, do you declare that you respect the light and love of God, of God's source? And it rapped yes. And then, starting to get curious about who they were, I asked, what do you want? And instantly I had a vision of a woman of East Asian descent, which I believe to be Pam. Looking mournful and crying. She had dark hair with bangs, tan skin, possibly in her early 30s, late 30s. It was difficult to tell. It's not an image that I would spontaneously create. And as soon as that vision of that woman came, it also left. And the whisper of the word Hollywood. I didn't quite understand how they all fit. And so I asked, are you from Hollywood? And it wrestled, yes. And is Pam the person that you're looking for? And it answered yes. Do you see the light? Are you ready to go into the light? Rap for no. And the sense that I got in that moment is a feeling of heaviness, feeling lost, a little anxious, trying to resolve a problem, and feeling really uncertain and helpless. Having recently studied the works of Allan Kardec on spiritism, and he was also the founder of the spiritist movement in the 18th century. Find out more either in the card or in the description box below, depending on whether or not YouTube allows me to put in links, hopefully soon. His work with spiritism was really illuminating in terms of having discernment around spirits and helping them cross into the light, if that was their wish. And so I asked Mr. Hollywood, which is how I refer to him now. I asked Mr. Hollywood, would you like to go into the light? And intuitively, I got the sense, I don't see it. I don't know how. I don't think I could. That spirit felt entirely unworthy of God's love. And perhaps that part of the reason why he might be here is that he would need assistance in crossing over. And so I began communicating with him. All of this was happening in my mind. I wasn't speaking out loud. That would have freaked out my husband. But I was having this dialogue with the voice within my head and hearing those responses in my intuition. And I invited Mr. Hollywood to feel what it's like to feel loved unconditionally. And that no matter what he would have done in life, he is a creature of God, and God does love him unconditionally. And I poured my own heart and soul when I was explaining this to him. And I said, if you'll permit me, I would love to channel some Reiki energy to you so that you can experience some spiritual healing, and perhaps together we can summon the light and you can go through and to return to source, return home, where you're welcome, where you're awaited, where you are loved. And while at first I sensed some hesitation and a lack of belief, I really hammered home that it is something that you need to believe, something that you need to feel deep within your soul. Feel that you are loved. Feel it in every part of you. And of course, didn't have a body, but I believe you can sense and feel love, both on the physical plane and across the veil. And he did, and he complied. And I started channeling Reiki to him, sending God's source energy towards him. I then had a visualization in my mind, a human shape with gray smoke mist coming out of it, pouring in that Reiki energy into it and slowly seeing the gray dissolve as it filled with golden light. And I prayed, I asked for God's source to please reveal itself and to allow it to enter into the light. Instantly, I saw a beam of light in my mind's eye, right next to the outline of this man. And he looked back at me with a little bit of apprehension, and I nodded and I said, this is for you. You're going to be safe. You're going to be all right. This long journey. This chapter's ending and you're starting a brand new one, and it's going to be exciting. I truly believe that having sensed that warmth and the love coming from me, that gave him enough courage slowly walk into the light. Kind of like in a Star Trek movie, he was beamed up to return to source. And that was a wild moment for me. I'd never helped the spirit pass across the veil. I didn't quite know if I could do it. But I sensed into the room. I felt lighter. I sensed into my body. Didn't feel any ruffles. Didn't feel anything. I came downstairs. I sensed into my living room. No footsteps, no creaking of the walls. And I even went to my laundry room, which for the last few months had had a light that had been flickering, and it didn't matter how many times I would change the light. It would be fine for a couple of days, and then the light bulb would start flickering again. We changed the light fixture, nothing. That section was determined to flicker, and it's not flickering anymore. So I think, at least for now, the home is ghost-free. I don't know what it was about that door just gusting open. I'll keep you posted, but I wanted to share about the first ever time that I helped the spirit cross into the light. Because what this means is that if I can do it, you can do it. It's been a long spiritual journey, and if you stick around, I'll share with you all of the knowledge that I've learned and the steps that I took to help me get here. And now I want to learn from you. Have you had any ghostly encounters? Do you help spirits find their way home? Do you even believe in ghosts? I'd love to hear all of your stories. Or if you have any questions, share them down below. I'd love to answer them. Let's get a conversation going. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. This gives me the encouragement to continue to make more and to share with you and to build a community where weirdos like ourselves can get together and share openly and freely without feeling judged. Thank you, Soul Family. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.